Hey, this is Seth with In-Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Christopher, who is only 23 years old and making $75,000 a year working remotely in digital marketing. Christopher took my course when he was very young, and he's used digital marketing as a way to support his passion for art and spirituality. So I have a very exciting story to share with you. I'm very happy to talk with him. We did an interview a few years ago, and I'm excited to catch up with him and share all this with you. Thanks for being here, Christopher.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Seth.
My pleasure. So, why don't you tell people a little bit about your current job that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so my current job, the day-to-day includes mostly Google Ads, a little bit of Bing, and another team handles Facebook, though generally I'm in the weeds handling Google Ads campaigns. It's an agency I work for, so it's a bunch of different industries like hospitals, doctors, trucking companies, and lawyers, and all the good stuff.
That's fantastic. And what's it like working remotely, and what are you getting paid?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I believe I mentioned this in the last interview. I used to work at Wendy's and I have to do the commute, and working remotely is like literally a different world. It is, but it's not perfect, but it is the best thing you could imagine in terms of convenience and comfort and being able to manage other aspects of your life with more ease, like your friendships and art, spirituality, everything comes together a lot more seamlessly when you can work remotely. You don't have infinite time, but it's just a lot easier to make things work. In terms of pay, I'm making more than I did at my last official position, where I was making $50,000. Now I transitioned and I'm making $50,000 base pay, but including bonuses, it's upwards of 25K. And according to my last, whatever fancy document it's called, W2, W4, I can never remember. I made 75K. So that was pretty nice. It's all thanks to you, Seth.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's my pleasure, especially at your age. This is really exciting. There's a lot of people twice your age who aren't even making that. But I love how I know when I talk to you, we're going to be talking even more. We'll talk about the job, but also you have a really cool lifestyle that you've used, and you use digital marketing to support that lifestyle. So we'll get into that in a second. But for people who haven't seen the other interview, let's just quickly walk people through like what was going on in your life when you first found the course. Like I think you were like 19 or 20, I think, when you first took the course. And what was going on? I think you said you were working at Wendy's. And then how did you end up going from, working at Wendy's to getting your first digital marketing job?
Yeah, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. When I first found your course, I was like super into self-help books, and somehow that transition to me just it was like an improvement pill video where he talked about your course, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I despise college and the whole homework thing. Let's see what this is about. I got the course. I say I got the course, but if I'm being truthful, I used like my mom's money, my mom's allowance money. And I was like, okay, let's try this out. And then it was like, I made the cardinal mistake literally everyone that joins your course typically makes, where I didn't follow all the steps, and it unsurprisingly nothing really worked. So literally years passed. I graduated from high school. I was a little aimless, but I did have your course in mind. So I got that job at Wendy's and was like, okay, this time I'm going to rejoin the course. I think there's a different payment plan. I think it was like monthly when I first
Let
got
me
the
interrupt you for a second, Chris, because
yeah.
just to clarify for people, so I had forgotten about this. You bought the course when you were a teenager, like in high school?
Yeah, and I didn't take it serious.
You were like 16?
I think 17.
17. Okay. Yeah. Just to clarify, everybody. So he bought the course long time ago when he was 17, but didn't do what I say to do, which is obviously not going to work to get you the results. No problem. It happens with a lot of students. But then when you were more serious about it, you came back. That's the point.
Yeah, so I got that job at Wendy's. I was like, okay, let's save up, let's get that course. Got the course. I really felt the situation of working like one of those jobs like Wendy's, and it really pushed and motivated me to like take things seriously because I had experience of the contrast of like, okay, you have this school environment that's super sanitized, and then you have Wendy's, and then there's like this alternate reality you're seeing of all these people getting this job that seems great, but you don't know what it's like. So it's like that really motivated me to try and put more energy into this, like pay attention. So I followed the steps, and here we are.
That is definitely a Cliff Notes version. But yeah, it sounds to me like you're saying, yeah, you've been in school, which is like, yeah, it's very regimented. You're basically being indoctrinated into how to be a good little worker. Then you go to work at Wendy's, which is not I wouldn't imagine it's a very fun job. You know, you're dealing with customers and dealing with greasy food and all this type of stuff. And you got to go in every day and do it and not getting paid very much. And then you're seeing all these interviews with people who've gotten this remote job, which sounds a little bit unrealistic. You're like, really? People can work from their computer and all these things. And working, I met a lot of students like this, like working at the bad job can motivate you to want to get the better job. So again, you're like 19. I think I remember you being 19 at the time. You're working at Wendy's, you take the course, you get the digital marketing skills. So what was it like to get your first digital marketing job?
So as mentioned before, it was a bit of a hustle. You're working at Wendy's, you get home and then you immediately like apply to this job, that job, this job. It was a bit of a crunch, especially when you're like trying to tailor your resume to make it work. But when you finally get those few callbacks, it really boosts your motivation. And it really helps when you get a callback that says, hey, we want a second interview. And it's like, okay. And then you get further into the process and it's like, okay, I'm getting close. And then I think, and I've noticed the interviews that work best are the ones where it's not like you're not trying, it's just it happens smoothly. There's no like, oh, this is an interview. It's more like, that was quite refreshing, actually. Those are always the interviews that like either say, hey, this is great, but we just found another person that was a better fit, or hey, you're hired. Those are always the best interviews.
Well, yeah, obviously the best interview is the one where you get hired. I think what you're speaking to is what I teach in the course, which is to be relaxed and neutral, or centered when you're talking. Don't be too attached to the outcome. And so obviously you had one of those interviews because you did get hired when you were 19. So what did you feel like when you actually got that first digital marketing job, and how did the interview go?
The interview, I remember being asked like very silly, goofy questions, like how many jelly beans can you guess are in this jar? I mean, it kind of dropped like the tension, but I was like, what even is this? It was kind of silly, but kind of serious. But when they said, hey, you're hired, or I got like the email that said, hey, we want to give you this offer letter, or I can't think of the word, but you guys know. I remember like screaming and being like, oh my God, look, I got the job. And it was just amazing. And then when I actually got the job, naturally there are a few challenges. Like this is the first official place I've been, and I don't quite know how to navigate things, but I do have the skills. And I remember very distinctly, I didn't really feel like I belonged, even though I really knew I could do the job. But when crunch came and I somehow survived the crunch, that feeling pretty much went away, like permanently. I'm not saying like crunch to your death, but that helped a lot.
Yeah, what you're speaking to, I know is that you're 19. You're getting your first. Not only you went from working at Wendy's to working a remote job managing advertising. You didn't know how to the culture. You spent 18 years in school or 16 years in school, whatever it is, and they don't teach you about having a meeting or talking with a client or any of those things, right? And you had to just kind of, this is what everybody does who gets a job. I had to do it in my first job. It wasn't even digital marketing. It's just every person goes through this. But what was it like? What were you getting paid at that first job? And what was it like to have that kind of a paycheck?
Yeah, so that first job, it was like $50,000 a year. And when I first got that check, it was like, oh my God, someone can make this much and just work at home. That's it. Oh my gosh. Like obviously it was crunch, but it was insane that like there's like so many numbers and these numbers I can have this. It's like, oh my God.
That's so great, man. And what were you actually doing at this first job? Was it a Google Ads job? Was it an SEO job? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, so it was Google Ads specifically. There was a very, very small amount of Bing, but it was only trucking. Like for any of you guys that are in the industry, it's like bizarre. I didn't even know this existed, but like when you hire truckers, there are like 8 different types of licenses. So CDLA, CDLB, CDLC. I won't torture you with the details, but I had to learn a lot about a very specific industry in Google Ads.
That's so cool, man. And I think it's exciting because when I had my first agency job, I was working with like 30 industries. And look, you're not gonna, as a hobby, you want to learn about all the trucking licenses, but it's related to money and advertising. Meaning as a marketer, you could have all these different clients, and now you know about trucking. Now even now it says you're working with trucking. Now you know that industry. Now you can help advertise in that industry, and that just means more profit. Um, and that's very exciting. So, we focus on, obviously initially on the money. It's very important to have your rent covered and your basics, but you had a very unique path. My understanding is that you wanted to use this foundational income to support a spiritual path and artistic path. So why don't you tell people a little about what happened after you got this first job and, between then and where you are now?
Yeah, so from my first job to now, pretty much exclusively from when I started working to now, I got your job and okay, finally I can relax and put more energy into just meditating. And that almost sounds like bizarre and counterintuitive. Like you do all this running and running to get the job so that you can sit down and do nothing. For me, it was like everything I've done to this point has been to like somehow funnel my energy into spirituality, or at least the basis of calmness and joy that's sustainable and isn't necessarily tied to anything external. Like I can just sit down, be calm, be happy, and just stay with that. Even when I'm like walking through the street, I can just be calm. Didn't have a good day, still joyous. That's like all I've been trying to like funnel my energy into. And it's sustainable now because there's not like you have to survive, you have to, make the fat sacks of dough. So it's just
That's so
nice.
cool, man. And
Yeah.
and tell people like where do you live now and what what you live in a very unique place and you've taken a unique path to have that kind of inner peace.
Yeah. So it took some time. There's so many for a good reason, I would assume. There's a lot of processes you have to go through, but currently I'm living in an ashram in Tennessee. Ashram is like a fancy word for, I guess, a temple slash village where people they come here, they live, and they exclusively focus on their spiritual process. And that's all I had wanted forever. That's all I had wanted when I was like, even before the job at Wendy's. But I'm like sitting in my bed, like, I'm broke and you need money to be at the ashram. So it's like, finally, we did it. So we're here.
It's really cool, man. It's very unique. And I love spirituality and we focus here mostly on digital marketing and money. So I guess the last question is, how did you get this current job that you have now? And how do you balance that with, living in an ashram and focusing on meditation?
Yeah, so after working at my previous position for a little over a year, you recommending your course that after, you've had that first job and, you've had a certain amount of experience, you leverage that into something else. I, repeated the process that you present and found pretty much a similar position with extra pay that was somehow even more flexible than my previous job. And I was like, I don't even know how this is possible, but literally all thanks to Seth. I don't know how Seth came up with like this laser brain strategy, but this is the only reason I can like meditate and be at this ashram and somehow sustain it financially. But yeah, the day to day is pretty much work remotely, handle the Google Ads campaigns, try your best to manage your sadhana, or sadhana is like a fancy word for yoga. Yoga in the morning, yoga in the evening, maybe a tiny bit if there aren't too many work meetings during the day, and just, dedicate the remaining time to work. And, at night, there's time for friends.
That's very important. And so how many hours a week do you work? You have to have all this time to do both things.
Yeah, so I don't calculate it exactly, but the day to day, if I'm being very truthful, the day to day, it says work 40 hours a week, but your managers are like, literally just get your job done, get it done well, and you're good. So for me, it's like, okay, so like basically 4 hours, crunch, 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 crunch every single day, and then you're good. And that's
That's
it. Everything is done.
That's awesome, man. And it's like, it's true. I mean, so many of these jobs, the old world jobs are like, oh, sit there and make sure sitting at your desk for 8 hours to look good for the boss. And it's just so inefficient and stupid. And it's like, look, if you can get your work done in 8 hours, it takes 8 hours. If you can take it in 6 hours, if you can get it done in 4 hours, it doesn't matter to the client as long as the client is making money. It's all about results. And I think it's really awesome, man. And I know you said you actually have a work meeting in a few minutes, so we're going to let you go. But I think it's amazing what you've created. I'm really happy that you are living this life and that you're balancing yourself. I think it's really great inspiration at 23, especially to be on the spiritual path and to be able to support yourself financially. Because my travels, I've always met people in two extremes. I met people that are super into money and they have no spirituality, or people who are into spirituality but they're broke. But you have both, and I think that's really exciting. So we'll definitely talk again. And I just wanted to ask you, is it okay if people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions about the course?
Yeah, of course. So, to be quite frank, I might be a bit slow to respond with, the whole working situation, but I'll try my best.
Well, we appreciate that, man. And just last thing before we go, is there anything you want to say to me or anybody watching the video who's considering the course or digital marketing?
Yeah, well, I haven't said this enough, or maybe I said it too much, but literally, thank you so much for offering what you offer. I everything around me is because of people like you and Sadhguru that offer genuine processes that work and like get results. So thank you so much, genuine. Like, thank you. And for the people watching, I'm proof this works. Like literally, I was like basically, I was like nothing in high school, and somehow because I could like focus with the spirituality, I could like make my brain concentrate on something, and then there was something concrete with Seth's course that made it financially feasible. So that's it for me. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Christopher. And yeah, man, I'm so excited. Again, you guys, you're so young too, 23. You're just beginning your career, but also, you know, your inner, to have that kind of inner peace and that awareness that it's important is so awesome. Again, most people don't get to that point till they're in the middle of their life. Yeah, and guys, yeah, I like to talk about spirituality. I don't do it much on the channel, but you can have both. I guess that's what's exciting about this, to have, you use digital marketing and these skills to support your passion for, yeah, the right brain stuff. And you had mentioned art. We didn't get to talk about that too much, but like art, music, spirituality, your life, your friends, travel, all those things, you have these skills. You have a power in the marketplace that allows you to make some money and have a flexible lifestyle if you want that. And I think it's very exciting. So thanks, Christopher. I'm going to let you go get to your work meeting. Thanks for sharing yourself with everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Thanks, Seth. Bye.
Bye bye.